Hey guys, welcome to Bite Me, a Truthful Groomer podcast. I'm Brooke, the Truthful Groomer. We're on season 1, episode 10. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the episodes so far. I'm trying to be more intentional with them as I go. They'll be released weekly, probably typically on Fridays or the weekends. Something you guys may not know about me is I have 4 children. So, but one lives with his dad, 2 are stepchildren, and then my biological daughter, June, who most of you have met in my lives. She's around all the time, so they all are in hockey. They're all doing things, so I try my best to, additional to rearing the children and working my 5 jobs, to make my time in here weekly for you guys. So far, so good. But you can tell me if the episodes are lacking. You can leave comments below on the website. Tell me at TikTok, whatever you feel like you need to do. But hopefully, this is coming across well so far. I'm enjoying it. So today we're going to talk about the truth about unlearning racism. I think that anybody who wants to sit there and deny in their whiteness that they don't have internalized racism from the way all of us were brought up, you're lying to yourself. Okay, you can't unlearn the implicit biases, and we'll learn more about that in a minute. But you can't unlearn the things that you have been taught, because you don't know what to unlearn. You don't know what you've been taught. You don't even know subconsciously in the back of your mind that you're, say, I don't know, walking into a Walmart and you're cautiously aware of the black person there. You don't know that you're doing that, but you are. And we can know that that is a thing that's happening in America. If not for the George Floyd thing, if not for the Wendy's being burnt down, if not for all the protests we've had this year, the one thing that can stand out to you now, undoubtedly, and I'm sure by the time I post this episode, something else tragic will have happened, or it'll be long past and something new will come up in the news, but the Capitol building. You can't deny anything. And if you do deny that that was an act of terrorism and a double standard to people of color everywhere, then you are a part of the problem. Like I said, a couple weeks from now when I release this, something else will probably be of interest to people. We don't keep our attention spans very long, even for something that dramatic. But I felt behooved to speak on this matter because it's so disturbing to the core. The police let them in. My God, if that had been a group of black, you know how I know it wasn't Antifa? It's because Antifa is eclectic members of people. You've got POC, you've got white people, you've got women, you've got men, you've got transgender, you've got LGBTQ, you've got all of that. You know, that's Antifa. If you had any sort of Antifa there, they would have ceased to exist. Okay, the MAGAs would have killed them. And I feel comfortable saying that on my podcast. It's my podcast, and I can speak freely about that. You know for a fact that racism plays a part here. And to deny it, you're denying humanity to people who exist. We should talk about racism and what that is exactly. Let's talk about the exact definition of racism. Racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism. I apologize. I a little bit struggle with the reading here. Directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. So, I've heard other people talk about how if you're a white person, you can't experience racism. You can only experience prejudice. But people of color in specific experience racism. And we were raised. I mean, how many of you watched Family Matters? You know, Urkel and all that. We all watched it as white people, and we enjoyed that show. It was a funny little sitcom. Black people did not relate to that show because that is not how a normal black family would have been in the 90s. I mean, I'm sure that sort of thing existed, Family Matters, the Cosbys, whatever, but it wasn't an organic experience, I guess I should say, coming through the screen. That was tailored to the liking of the white people. You know, you see, me and my partner, Easy, were talking about this. He only recently realized after I brought it up that some of his favorite movies, they star all white people. You know, it's not Hispanic hero. It's not, you know, a black hero typically. I mean, we saw that in Black Panther, but the majority of what we see on the television, you know, it's just like girls see these images where they're being sexualized, so they think they should have to be that way. All of us are seeing only white movie stars and things like that. You can't deny growing up that that's what gets internalized in our brain, that The people of color are second-class citizens. That's what gets internalized into us. And we don't see each other as equals, even if we think we are. I mean, that's a form of internalized racism that we grew up with. It's implicit. What it is implicit bias. So let's move on to that topic. Implicit bias, also known as implicit social cognition, refers to the attitudes or stereotypes that affect our understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious manner. You've got people who think that Melania Trump was the most beautiful, first lady, and then you have people saying that Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, is ugly. That is racist. Okay, doesn't have. I mean, there is an aesthetic preference as to what you do or don't find attractive, but if you're automatically calling a person ugly because they're a piece of color, you're a racist. So that's, in a nutshell, a form of implicit bias. Another form of implicit bias would be, okay, you have the Karen who went after the black kid over a cell phone recently, and he was the son of a famous trumpet player. I forget who. But it's the important thing is anybody could have stole this woman's phone, and she likely lost it herself, but I digress. The point is, she, in her mind, assumed it was this black kid because of the stereotype around black kids. So these are forms of implicit bias. Again, walking into a Walmart and being subconsciously aware of the people of color around you, that's implicit bias. You don't realize that you're doing it. So then what's that mean for us? Do we have to really analyze and put under a magnifying glass each of our actions in every single interaction we have? And I hate to break this to you, but the answer is yes. You do. If you're a boomer, especially if you're a boomer, a Gen X, or a millennial, you have to re-examine your actions and your interactions with every person. And it's not enough to say, oh, okay, we just have to start seeing everybody as human and just seeing them as another being. We should see color. You want to honor that aspect of a person. That's their culture. This is our culture. You want to respect that. You don't want to just pretend like there isn't different colors, shapes, and sizes. But you do want to ask yourself, what kind of interaction am I having with this person versus what kind of interaction I would be having with another person? Am I treating this person with the respect they deserve? That's how you get past your implicit bias. You really want to, and it's going to take effort, and you're going to make mistakes, but you really want to examine the way you're thinking about something when you're speaking to another individual and how that's coming across. I myself struggle with this. I'm telling you, every interaction I have with every single person at a store, a UPS driver, on the phone, I'm very cautiously aware of how I'm speaking about things, and I've slipped up. I think even on TikTok, I've slipped up. It seems to me that most people of color understand when someone's trying to learn, and they're appreciative of that. And it's not their job to teach us, but they do seem to understand that, okay, there's a problem here. It's starting to be addressed, and that's where the real work starts. Deliberate practice, coined by habitsatwork.com, is the key to getting better in any facet of life or work. The type of practice requires that we have clear mental model of what excellent looks like for a specific skill or habit. The problem is, many of us have mental models that prevent us from practicing the habits that support a just society. So what that means is we're being lazy. We are not putting into practice the skills that we need to interact correctly with another human being without having the implicit bias in the back of our subconscious. You have to start unlearning what you know and take on a whole new practice altogether. I know it's difficult, but it's what needs to happen in order for us to move forward and having a better and more just society. So that's a lot to unpack this episode, and it'll certainly give you something to think about this week. But if you let nothing else drive you to do that, let the memory of the Capitol building be that. Understand your white privilege and the generations and generations of people before you that came that gave you that white privilege and has oppressed other people. Do you really want change? Because this is how we get it, guys. Okay. And if you don't, then shame on you, because if ever there was a time for activism, it's now. If ever there was a time to unlearn things, it's now. If ever there was a time to start creating a new era, it's now. And I urge you to go forth with this information. If you want to know more about unlearning implicit bias, you can go to www.habitsatwork.com. As always, feel free to check out the Truthful Groomer website. The link tree is in the bio of my TikTok and the description in this video. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Insta. I'm always eager to hear your thoughts and ideas, what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear. And I hope to continue to have my following. I'll see you next time.